Must be heart and soul. Must be heart and soul. Must be heart and soul. This must be heart and soul. Must be heart and soul. Must be heart and soul. Hi, I'm Reverend Andriette, and this is Point of Power. And I'm in receipt of some of your questions and comments. And one of the things that is coming up is, or at least this is the way I understand the inquiry, is how do we remember? So we've done the study, we've done the reading, we are the one that others come to for support and counsel and encouragement. And in fact, we may be one of the most positive people in our lives. But what happens when our spirit drops? What happens to us, for us, as us, through us, when we are feeling defeated and find ourselves in a sense of despair? I think one of the questions was, how do I remember? How do I remind myself of what I truly do know is true? And I don't mean to be flippant or glib in any way when I say, how do you remind yourself about anything else? For example, you leave home and you know that on the way home you want to pick up toilet tissue. You go to bed late, you know you've got to get up at a particular time that's different than the time you typically do. You have a way to remind yourself to stop off at the store. You have a way of reminding yourself to get out of bed at a particular time. We already know how to remind ourselves. We just somehow have decided that if I can't remember on my own, there's something wrong with me. But there's nothing wrong with you if you can't remember to pick up toothpaste. And so you make yourself a note, either handwritten on a Post-it, which is what I do, and I put it on the door going into the garage. So there's no way I can get to my car without seeing the note. But that's also why my bathroom mirror has affirmations on it. That's also why my refrigerator does. That's also why my phone does. That's also why, because I know I must remind myself of what I really do know. And sometimes I must use an alarm of sorts to awaken me to the truth. And frankly, I think you'll understand if I say to you, there's no shame in that game. If you know you need to be awakened, have an affirmation that, like I do, well, I'm just suggesting that you might join me in this, that at 6 a.m., 9 a.m., 12 noon, 3 p.m., 6 p.m., and 9 p.m., my phone alarms. And during that time, when I hear the alarm, I know to affirm what I have set in my mind as true and valuable for me, beneficial for me to remember. So it's a point of awaking. In that moment, I awaken to a truth that I've set in mind. The affirmations remind me at the other times that there is a greater truth that I absolutely do know, even if I'm feigning that I have forgotten. Even if I've convinced myself I've forgotten. It's my way. One of the other ways I say this is I leave myself some breadcrumbs, some cookie crumbs, some cake crumbs, some kind of crumbs, so I can find my way back home. And home is center. It's that centered place where I absolutely know who I am. Everybody in their home ought to know who they are. They ought to be safe in their home. And so in my home, euphemistically, in my home, metaphorically, I am safe, I know who I am, and I can be authentic in expressing who I am. So my crumbs that I leave myself, the affirmation, the setting the alarm to awaken me to what time it is on my planet and what's most important for me to know. I just offer you that. That's me sharing my point of power with you. You can make it your point of power if you want.